Well, I think we made a huge comeback if you look at where we were. We're a broken state, and I viewed fixing Michigan wasn't good enough. It's how do we reinvent things. And if you look at where we've come in terms of Detroit's comeback, exciting things going on in Hamtramck, Dearborn, that whole region is exciting. In terms of job creation, we're #1 in the Great Lakes states, #6 in the nation for job creation. In terms of watching people's income rise, we're #1 in the Great Lakes states, #7 in the nation. These are great things that we should be very proud of, and our state's growing again. Our population's growing again, we're keeping our young people, but we need to do more, and that's where having new Americans come to Michigan is critically important, and that's why I've always been a big advocate. We're one of the very few states that has an office for new Americans, and I'm very proud of that, because that's one of the things that made America so great, were people coming to our country, bringing innovation, bringing diversity, bringing exciting ideas. When you have people come to our country, it's a huge challenge for them. I mean, it's daunting if you think about it. It's difficult enough when you move somewhere in this country, let alone saying you're coming from a totally different culture and background in many ways. And we want to make people feel welcome. And one of the challenges you have is, in many cases, English is not their language. So I thought it important, particularly leveraging our office for new Americans, could we give out grants to people to really establish more programs to make English a language that people can learn, make it easier for people. Because if you can learn English, then you can interact with people easier. You should be proud of your culture, though. It's not to walk away from your culture, but it's to embrace a language that you can communicate with so many other people and be more successful and speed up that ability to be a proud American and to start a business and hire some people and have your kids go to school and do well. I've always been pro-immigration, and I continue to be. I think there was one point where there was a question about how well the federal practices were by our federal government. It wasn't a question of the refugees themselves, but I'm not sure we were doing all the vetting and screening the most appropriate way at the federal government level, and I thought it appropriate to say, if that's the case, isn't it a fair question to say they should temporarily pause and look at their practices to say, are there improvements they can make, and are there things they're missing that they should be doing to make sure we're doing a better job? Because it is important to address national security. At the same time, we want to recognize that we're a place where we were built based on immigrants. Well, we had a case there where, with a change in water supply, some people made some mistakes in terms of the experts. People at the city, the state, the federal government, in terms of looking at the right requirements that should take place to switch to a new water supply. And some of those people worked for me. So if they work for you, you should take responsibility for that. And my focus has been not on who to blame, but we recognize there's a problem, let's solve the problem. And so we've done a lot of efforts to improve Flint. I was just there recently. It was really exciting. They were opening the Ferris wheel building to essentially create an entrepreneurial environment to get new businesses started in Flint. Because one of the long terms we need to see, Flint had challenges for many years. Let's grow Flint. I also signed some legislation that will allow them to have a promise zone where they can hopefully provide free community college education to many of the young people coming out of Flint. There are many people that are in favor of public schools, they're in favor of charter schools, and charter schools are a form of public schools. But what I would say is, my interest is having a high bar for performance and results for all schools. So it's not about just being on one side or the other, and there shouldn't be a different bar. We need to expect more out of our educational institutions. We have wonderful teachers and educators in many respects, but we need to do a better job of helping give our young people the tools they need to be successful. And so I think we need a high bar for performance. The other thing is we need to encourage more young people to go into the professional trades. It's not just about getting a university degree. We have over 100,000 open jobs in Michigan today. Many of these are great, well-paying jobs. And let's get the word out. It's not just about a university degree, but you can be a welder, plumber, auto mechanic. These are great careers for people to go into, and I encourage young people and their parents to look at those options. Well, the emergency manager was there to deal with emergencies, where there was a crisis in those communities, and they did their job and they're gone. We haven't had an emergency manager in a community in Michigan in some time. Their work got done. So we had them leave. We're in fact turning full control over cities back to them even after the review boards. We only have a couple situations with a couple school districts that have sort of wound down. The good part is it was important to have at the time. It did its role. People worked hard to do things together, and now let's grow Michigan. Let's grow our cities and communities. It's an important community, our Arab American community. They contribute a lot. So again, I want to encourage more immigration from all around the world. And one of the great things you mentioned were the inaugural immigrant awards we gave out, American awards. They were fabulous and I think we need to do more of that, because quite often we have people in this country that have become more sort of anti-immigrant or anti-immigration. The more we can celebrate successes and show great cases of people from Yemen and other places coming to our country, starting businesses, being great community members, having people work for them, employing Americans. That's a great message, and that's the best way to respond to criticism, is show success. I don't get into all the federal issues that way, and again, there's all the legal issues. I'm going to continue to encourage immigration from the Middle East and every part of our country, and again, how do we make people welcome here? Because they're going to make us a better country. I'm busy working this step, so I tell people the first thing is I've got another year to go. And there are a lot of great things I plan on doing, and it's been an honor being governor. How often do you get a chance to help 10 million people that I care about? And what I say beyond that, first I owe some obligations to my wife to catch up for some of the sacrifices we made. So that's the next priority. Longer term, though, I hope to have a voice on policy, because some of these issues we talk about, I think we need people that can talk about them in a civil fashion. We have too much fighting in this country, in the political world. And I don't think that's a good answer. So I think we need more people that can have a voice, but that's not necessarily running for office. It's a way to communicate, though, to say, here are important issues, and can't we talk about it where we can sit down and have a real discussion so people can understand there are different views, and have people look for a common sense answer, not a political answer. I always emphasize to people, whatever you're doing, you need to put a priority on your family, because that's the strength that you get to do many other things in life. Well, we should be proud of the Arab American community, the Muslim community in Michigan. We have the largest community in the country, and we need to get a message out to people that what a great contribution to our country in terms of wonderful people making a difference, in terms of not just the community, but our whole society. They're job creators. They're people giving back to the community. It's adding cultural value, and it's creating a path for young people and to better understand one another and to learn from one another and to grow together. So let's keep Michigan's progress going, and I think we're a role model for the rest of the country.